my name is Susan, and I'd love to chat to you today about how to start a sketchbook and how to get back into sketching and drawing again after a break. Maybe you've had a few weeks off after a busy work or holiday period. Maybe you haven't sketched for years, or somewhere in between. However long it's been since you've done some sketching, this video is especially for you. There are so many reasons why it's really hard to get started, and those voices in our heads have a lot to say. Maybe they tell us that we aren't good enough, that sketching is hard. Maybe those voices in our heads spend hours debating which pen or pencil to use or what subject matter to actually draw. Or maybe we just don't want to go wrong and ruin that beautiful sketchbook that we've got prepared and ready to start drawing in. These voices are powerful. And you know why? Your brain is super clever because ultimately it's trying to protect you from danger and threat and something that is unfamiliar, even something as simple as sketching. So let's just give those little voices a bit of a break for now. Let's let them go. And I'm going to explain some top methods for bypassing these voices and simply enjoying your sketchbook for the sake of enjoying it. So first of all, I want to talk about ways that you can actually start a sketchbook, taking one of these glorious, handmade, beautiful things and turning it into a place for creativity and sketching and just enjoying all things drawing. When we first get a brand new sketchbook, it can be very intimidating because of all those blank pages. How we approach the first page of a sketchbook can really set us up for success and also set our minds at rest and put quiet to those voices in our heads. Now, the first tip is to use your front page as a way of writing down your goals or your intentions for your sketchbook or your month or your week or your creative year. One thing that I very often do with people taking part in my 30-day sketchbook challenge or beginning their journey in their Inspire Sketching membership with me is to sit down and think about what it is they want to gain from sketching. What do they want to achieve? What inspires you? And just write some of these things down. This could be as simple as I'd like to improve my drawing skills, or I just want 5 minutes of me time every day to relax and enjoy. And depending on what your goals are and why you want to come to your sketchbook will help to keep you motivated. So maybe popping these thoughts on the front page of your sketchbook means that when you come to your sketchbook, you can look at your intentions and your goals or your reasons why you want to sketch and feel inspired to move on to the next page. And it also means you've started a page and you haven't had to worry about what you want to draw. Another great way of approaching the first page or pages of a sketchbook is to just break them in by painting over a page with a single colour or a bunch of scribbles or some watercolour. No intention, you're not drawing or painting anything, you're just giving yourself a background to work on. So create some pages of backgrounds, and that means that when you come to do a sketch, a drawing, you're not working on a blank page, you've already made a bit of a mess. You've already put some colour, some texture potentially onto the page, and you've got something to work on. And you've got rid of that fear of the blank page. So have a go at creating some backgrounds as well. So when you're coming back to a sketchbook after a break and you haven't done any sketching or drawing for a while, one of the best things that you can do is just simply try out your materials. It can feel very rusty to kind of get started in a material you haven't used for a number of weeks, months, or years. So what I love to do, and I love art materials, I have them everywhere in my home studio here. So if, for example, you want to try out something like a set of coloured pencils, the best thing to do is to just swatch a little bit of the colour and just try them out in your sketchbook. And what this does is it stops you from worrying about the end result. You are not drawing a something, you are not drawing an object in front of you, you're just seeing what the materials can do, you're trying them out. So if I was going through and experimenting with a bunch of, let's say, watercolour pencils, I might try out each pencil, do a little scribble or add some water to it and just see what each colour does. And again, this is a brilliant way to just get back into sketching if you haven't done anything for a while. And when we understand how our materials work and we know how to use them, we can then apply this knowledge to when we're sketching an object or something else. So give it a try, just play with your materials. Now, one thing that I also think is really important when you're coming to your sketchbook is to keep the amount of time that you're sketching for to a very short amount of time. For example, activities and sketching exercises that you can do in maybe 5 minutes or less. Don't feel that when you come to your sketchbook, you have to produce a beautiful finished piece of art that's ready for framing and putting on a wall. A sketch can be an unfinished preparatory piece of drawing. It doesn't have to be a finished piece of work in itself. And actually, some of the best sketches can be from those exercises that are just very quick, very loose. So for example, trying techniques such as the continuous line method, where you put your pen down on the paper, you look at your object, and just draw what you see in one long continuous line, is something you can do in just maybe 5 minutes. And it has the added benefit of being something that will help to build up your powers of observation, and one where you know it's probably going to look a bit squonky, have a bit of character, so you also let go of that perfect end result. And it's quick. There's an amazing book called Atomic Habits, which I can really recommend if you're looking to build up any kind of habit in anything. But how this applies to sketching, and one of the techniques, and there's many, taught within the book, is you need to be able to do something for 2 minutes a day. Just 2 minutes. And if you can fit in 2 minutes a day, you can build on that. And this applies to sketching too. And especially when you're trying to build up a brand new habit and fill a brand new sketchbook, just do 2 minutes and go from there. So another tip for starting a sketchbook is to choose either a very small sketchbook or a very inexpensive or cheap one. And what this will do is take the pressure off having to fill a great big, huge blank space. When we work in small sketchbooks, we only need to make small sketches to fill that space. And therefore those sketches can be very quick to finish and slightly less intimidating. The same applies to when we use sketchbooks that are very cheap, that maybe we've bought secondhand or in cheap stationery stores. When we work in these types of sketchbooks, we're not as precious over the paper. So when you're starting a new sketchbook and you're getting back into drawing again, just choose a cheap as chips sketchbook, a small one, and that will be a lot less intimidating to go and make a mess and explore. Now, another great way to use a new sketchbook is to set yourself a project for that sketchbook. Now, let me explain what I mean. So what you could do is pick a sketchbook and decide you're going to use one specific material within the pages. So for example, you could say, I'm just going to use an experiment with watercolour, or I'm going to choose this one pencil or single fountain pen. You can then pick yourself a topic or subject matter to draw. For example, I have had sketchbooks where I've just drawn coffee cups every day until the sketchbook is full with a single fountain pen. So every day I've sketched a single coffee cup in a fountain pen, and that's all I do in that sketchbook. What this does is when you open your sketchbook, you don't have to think about what materials to use or what subject matter you're using. You know what you're doing and you can just go. And what this does is it removes some of the barriers to starting sketching, and you can just open your sketchbook and get going without thinking. Now for my next tip, this is quite a quick one, but it's actually a really helpful one. Sketch things that you enjoy. It sounds really obvious, but sometimes we come to the sketchbook thinking that we should sketch a certain thing because either that's what other people do or what you've been taught at school, college, university by other art teachers. But do you know what? Your sketchbooks are yours, and there are no sketchbook police. You can sketch what you want. If you're sketching a subject matter that you enjoy in a material that you like using, do you know what? You're going to want to open those sketchbook pages a lot more. So please don't force yourself to draw something you don't want to. Sketch things that you enjoy, and that will really encourage you to open up those sketchbook pages and enter into your sketchbooks with joy and creative wonderment. Now finally, one of the best things that you can do when you're coming back to your sketchbook after a break is to look for assistance, tuition, accountability, and perhaps a community to help you along. As humans, when we work in community, we generally work better. We can see what other people are sketching, we can get advice, and generally this lifts up our enthusiasm and our motivation for doing something. So as a suggestion, you could look to maybe attend some art classes in your local area. You could find some sketching tuition online. You could join a sketching membership like my Inspire Sketching membership. Join a challenge. You could even do some family sketching together, or just find a group of friends that are also interested in getting sketching again and set up maybe a WhatsApp group. When we do things like this together, it really helps to push us forward and give us the motivation to sketch and to continue sketching. So now that you have these tools and techniques at your fingertips, I challenge you to go grab a sketchbook and put them into practice. Use a small sketchbook, limited materials, and maybe a simple topic that you will enjoy. This can be as simple as making patterns in coloured pens. Now, if you would like some suggestions for things that you can do in just 5 minutes in your sketchbook, please do have a look at my YouTube video, 5 Things to Sketch in 5 Minutes. So let's say goodbye to those voices in our head and start that sketchbook today. Happy sketching, everyone!